Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Rafae Iqbal, and in today's show we'll be deliberating on two very important topics. The first relating to, of course, Pakistan's diplomatic ties with China. As we'll be discussing, China's resolve to strengthen bilateral ties as the Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar met with the Chinese ambassador to Pakistan, Jiang Zedong. Earlier, Pakistan's Foreign Office rejected baseless allegations targeting Pakistan's commitment to China's policies, reiterating an all-weather strategic partnership as the Deputy Prime Minister and the Chinese ambassador to Pakistan, Jiang Zedong, also reiterated in the meeting. One China policy was also touched upon, being a cornerstone of Pakistan's foreign policy. CPEC Phase 2 entering and the development that is coming with this new phase was also discussed during the meeting. The Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi extended an invitation to the Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar to attend a United Nations Security Council event which is being hosted by China, which the Deputy Prime Minister also accepted. It is a testament, this meeting that was held between the Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar and the Chinese Ambassador to Pakistan, Jiang Zedong, being a testament to the increased bilateral ties and strengthening of these ties as the economic and development phase of China-Pakistan Economic Corridor enters a new phase as well. In the second segment, we'll be talking about Chinese DeepSeek and how it has sparked a global AI sell-off as China has started and developed their own artificial intelligence software, and being very less costly as compared to the other versions that are available, and which has caused investors to pull out of Nvidia stocks. We'll be deliberating on the global aspects that it has as well. Regarding that, in the studios, we've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh pitafi. Along with that, we've been joined by geopolitical analyst Faisal, and on Skype, we've been joined by former ambassador Baluch. I'd like to thank you all for your time and being part of the conversation. Coming towards the first topic, Pakistan's and China's ties and the resolve, as was reiterated in this meeting between the Deputy Prime Minister and the Chinese ambassador to Pakistan. I'll come towards Mr. Baluch to start off our conversation. Sir, there's been a lot of propaganda regarding China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, a lot of attempts to sabotage this ever-lasting and ever-friendly brotherly ties that both the countries have. Despite that, CPEC is entering its phase 2. There's a lot of work being done for regional connectivity and a lot of work being done for regional development. What would you comment on this overall situation with regards to both the stakeholders, China and Pakistan, and the region at large?
Thank you. I think Pakistan-China relations are rooted in our geopolitical commonality of perspective. In fact, we look at the world from the same perspective and from the same lens. So it's history, it is sincerity, it is time-tested friendship between the two countries which really binds this relationship. And whatever we see in the hostile propaganda and the media, that is expected. Because in this chaotic times, when unfortunately the entire world order is in a flux, and we see that non-traditional threats to the countries and even international relations have increased, including what we call it the fifth generation wars, and especially the media, the way it is being used to sow distrust, disinform and misinform, the two components of the fifth generation war, that is disinformation and misinformation. Unfortunately, this media has become such a lethal weapon in the hands of those adversaries. So I think while this is actually a wake-up call for us, that how a component on the public relations of CPEC has to be developed. So I think now I will come directly to the recommendation that this very article, which kind of started to be read all over the world, there were a lot of comments and there were a lot of bad publicity, giving an impression as if the two countries do not see eye to eye on CPEC. So I think there is I think this gives rise to an an urgent need to develop a public relation policy, how positively, even if at the cost of repetition, I think we need to keep going again and again to the audience within our country, as well as audience at large in the world. So Chinese will have to be, we have to coordinate with the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs and their Information Ministry. Likewise, our own external publicity as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs have to come up with a very, very tangible. Always been advocating digital diplomacy. So I think here is the challenge, that how we can use the digital diplomacy to strengthen and of course neutralize such attempts to sabotage and also to create some kind of a misunderstanding, at least at the public level, about the CPEC and about the Pakistan-China relations.
Yes. Very, very rightly said. Brother Faisal, what's your views? Of course, this, as former ambassador has mentioned, all this propaganda, we're living in digital times, there's this issue of misinformation and disinformation, and CPEC entering its phase 2. Of course, we know with regards to Pakistan, it's bringing a lot of development. And there's a lot of positive developments that we're seeing with regards to the energy sector, with regards to infrastructure, with regards to Pakistan's ports being developed, China getting access to the warm waters. That's a lot going on, but we see there's a lot of efforts to sabotage this very important project. What do you say about that?
Yeah, obviously, Rafae, if we talk about Pakistan and China's relations, they are all-weather relations, as we always claim. And no matter how hard somebody tries to create an artificially created bad weather, we will sustain in that weather as well, because we call it all-weather. Even if it is bad weather, still we will sustain all of the pressures. And we shouldn't be forgetting that this isn't the first time that the spoilers wanted to spoil the relations between both of the brotherly countries, the Iron Brothers, as we always say. It isn't the first time and it won't be the last time, and we would always be cautious. Pakistan as well as China, both of the countries, they are always cautious about the common enemies, and the common enemies are the ones who actually want to alienate Pakistan in the region and want to portray as if China is alienated as well in the region, and China as China has the one China policy, Pakistan always stands with it. And no matter how hard some of the spoilers would try to, of course, portray as if there is a difference between diplomatic standing and foreign policy standing of Pakistan from China, it would never happen. And when it comes to CPEC, of course, we know that Pakistan and China, they have a strong pledge to this, that of course this CPEC is going to be not only the backbone for Pakistan's economy, but also it is going to be a huge mileage that would be covered by China itself in terms of connectivity with the African countries, with the obviously Middle Eastern countries, GCCs as we always say, and of course rest of the world. It would see a rapid connection of China with the rest of the world, be it West, be it Africa, be it elsewhere, Middle East. Of course, it would be a rapid one, and that is how it should be. If we talk about CPEC itself, of course, we know completed phase 1 very professionally and very quickly, and now of course we are heading towards the phase 2. Phase 2 is up and running, in which we will be seeing of course SEZs, special economic zones. Work is going on that, and we shouldn't be forgetting earlier this month, of course, we saw the airport of Gwadar. It is up and running now, and Gwadar is going to be one of the most prominent international cities when it comes to an economic hub in the region. Deep sea port, of course China is going to use it as well, and Pakistan is going to, of course, connect itself with the Middle Eastern countries more, and African countries as well at the same time, and that can be an option for the Central Asian publics as well, to connect them with the rest of the world through Afghanistan, and that too would be a facilitation for a win-win situation for everyone. And when, of course, we talk about Pakistan and China's long-standing relations, we shouldn't be forgetting that Pakistan has a defensive cooperation as well that China has always extended to Pakistan. And Rafae, one last thing I wanted to highlight: we shouldn't be forgetting that we do have friends in the Western world, but we know that whenever their strategic mileage is covered in the region, they simply go away, as once very smartly Hillary Clinton herself said it. And obviously she claimed that, of course, when after the Soviet war, we left Pakistan with the Mujahideen and with the Stingers, and we said to them, you deal with it, we are fed up with that. And once more, Americans, they left Afghanistan after war on terror, and they left the mess with Pakistan and the other neighboring countries without making sure that the pledges they are going to make, the Taliban are going to make, they are going to, of course, fulfill them pledges or not. They left always. But be it whatever the situations were during war on terror, during the worst of situations in terms of Pakistan's economy, which we had a loss just because we were part of war on terror, and them all situations of Pakistan, we shouldn't be forgetting there was only one country that always stood with us, and that was China. And China is standing, China will always stand with Pakistan, and that's how it should be. And this is how Pakistan is going to show to the world that, be it whatever the artificial bad weather is created, Pakistan and China, they are going to be all weather friends.
Pitafi, what's your comments on how the conversation has shaped up? Of course, many attempts to sabotage this everlasting partnership, but all those attempts have always failed.
Right, absolutely, Rafae. Thank you very much for the question. I think that instead of spreading the raita too much, I'm going to focus on two very essential questions. What brought China and Pakistan together? How strong the relationship has been, right? This is one part. But the second part is more important, and that is who has actually consistently been trying to sabotage it. I think that it was mutual national, national interest on part of both countries that brought us together. And after that, we had realized that there is something which seems to be clicking, and it has been clicking since. We have never fallen apart, right? Our Chinese friends call us blood brothers, iron brothers. I call our alliance, blood brothers. We have stood together, and we will. That actually shows, and everybody knows about it, right? But who was actually the spoiler? There's a very simple answer. When in 2014, President Xi actually went to India, and there in Gujarat, he announced an investment there. And after that, the news got out that China has prepared bigger bonanza for Pakistan. We knew we are going to have a problem. When President Trump took over in 2017, and at that time there was the first leadership meeting of BRI. America was also invited. Just before that, India threw a hissy fit, and at that time India also said that they had concerns regarding what was happening in Azad Kashmir. At that time also, they lobbied America not to send their senior most official, even though President Trump actually wanted to go to China at that time, but that was scrubbed because India was throwing a hissy fit. India's problem is not that it has any problem with China. Its only problem is it's a bully, and it wants nobody to touch Pakistan with a barged pole. It had, you have seen repeatedly, they have monopolized that relationship with America, and one cause that they demand is not to look towards Pakistan. Similarly, they have never actually given up trade with China. They keep on trying to actually build better relationship despite all this fiction that they spread about new Cold War. We know this for a fact that decoupling is not possible. The international economy is so intertwined that it is neither possible to decouple America and China, nor it is possible to decouple India and China. And India has been importing a lot from China, but despite that, and by the way, despite the repeated claims, it is exactly like what we were doing during the Cold War, when we were actually talking about confronting the Soviet challenge, and at that time our main purpose was to contain or to confront India. Similarly, India keeps on using the name of China, but it is trying to actually milk that cow also. And on the other side, it keeps on arming itself to the teeth just to do one thing, to further bully its neighbors, which are smaller in size, like Pakistan, right? Because of that, they demanded that China should not actually invest in Pakistan. When China did, at that time their propaganda started against BRI, and then their propaganda started against CPEC. It hasn't stopped, but unfortunately for them, they have been failing. It doesn't mean that we are not actually subjected to ungodly pressures. On one side, they have been actually using their kinetic means to actually sabotage it by propping up terrorist organizations and supporting them within Pakistan, especially with the know-how to attack Chinese engineers, right? On the other side, they have also done this propaganda campaign which never seems to end. But frankly, nobody is now buying this act in America or West or in China. Because Ashley Tellis, one expatriate Indian who was one of the architects of India-America friendship back in 1990, actually came out and said that India is a poor partner when it comes to containment of China. Why? Because India keeps on trying to convince us that it is confronting them, but it will in a heartbeat run towards them if it seems not to get whatever it wants from the West. That is one aspect. But then when it comes to leveraging and everything, the fact remains that China also knows what India is doing. So nobody now at this moment is convinced that India is what it actually is trying to sell. And on top of that, this time when President Donald Trump actually came to power, he realized one thing, and that is for sure, that if we want to contain any country, we can do it on our own. We don't need any proxy for that matter. So the whole idea of Quad, there might be some mention of Quad or Squad or whatever you have in the papers or minutes, but in fact India's that khancha is also gone. So with all that situation, when you see it, the fact is, when all is said and done, Pakistan has retained its relationships. Its China-Pakistan relationship is going to go from strength to strength, which will be proven within days. And its relationship with America will also dramatically keep on improving, because we have really sacrificed. Unlike the prima donnas in New Delhi, Pakistan has sacrificed immensely for the betterment of world civilization. So I think that there is some latent, I call it latent, but some appreciation of what we have done, and that is going to grow.
Definitely. With regards to that, Ambassador Baluch, when we talk about, in light of what President Xi Jinping had to say with regards to BRI, cooperation, not confrontation, but despite the fact there's regional bully, as has been said in the conversation, and that regional bully has been trying to sabotage the progress of not just Pakistan and China, not just the relationship between these two countries, but it also affects the regional development of the whole region at large, considering the Belt and Road Initiative and how it aims to connect the Central Asian states as well and become an economic corridor for trade and transit. With regards to that and India's actions, as of course their Western allies have also been raising concerns regarding India's extraterritorial and extrajudicial activities. How do you think a check needs to be put on this regional bully that's not only hurting just the stakeholders involved in CPEC, but all the regional stakeholders involved as well?
See, for Pakistan, China relations, of course, India remains a challenge. It's not only the security of Pakistan, but I think overall, the security in South Asia probably is hostage to a kind of hostile India, a militant India, which is unfortunately governed at this point of time by a ultra-nationalist Hindutva philosophy of BJP, and they can go to any extent to sabotage any efforts to see South Asia as a are the other adjoining areas like Central Asia or West Asia, the regions of peace and regions of prosperity. So I think this is one challenge which we have actually confronted since our inception as a country, independence as a country, and we will continue to have it. I think the best way is to have very smart information tools we should have, the digital tools we should have, and also I think the world opinion has to be kind of educated on, and the ugly face of India has to be exposed to the world. But in the meantime, I think I'll also like to, I think we should consider that in addition to India, what all other challenges would come in our way when and if the confrontation for global domination as being pronounced by the new administration in the West, in America, is kind of being at least projected in the media. So I think we have to be really prepared for any such eventuality where we see like increasing of tension between China and the US. We see another tug of war in Asia Pacific, maybe confrontation in North China Sea or Taiwan. So I think we really need to prepare contingency plans in terms of diplomacy, in terms of media, in terms of our lobbying, and this all has to be done in collaboration with China. So I think what I am trying to suggest here, that the dialogue with China is not only to be restricted to the projects, to the economic zones, but has to be enhanced to see that how can they be protected against these hostile convergence of forces against CPEC, against China, against Pakistan, and against the Pakistan-China relationship. So I think our battle, unfortunately, gets expanded and extended beyond South Asia. So I think we have to really have 360 vision to see what's happening around, how the world contours of the world politics, what shape they take. As I said in my initial statement, that really the world is in a flux. So in that case, I think there is a very, very big need for us to be in constant communication with the Chinese, that nothing should surprise us. The whole thing is that we must not get any surprise, whether it is a media onslaught, whether it is unfortunately a security threat. We have to be one step ahead. We have to intercept if it is a physical attack on our relationship or on the project, or it is a media attack on Pakistan-China relations, or on CPEC, or with that extension BRI. And also that I think if you look at China philosophy of a shared future for the humanity, a collective security, that all, I mean, it's that philosophy of win-win. There is no zero-sum game in the Chinese worldview, especially of the President Xi. So I think this point of view has to be projected more even within our country, beyond, and in collaboration with China. That and also that we really have to also project this point that CPEC is not against anybody. In fact, in one of my programs with one of your colleagues, I said, why not to visualize a situation in South Asia where India becomes part of CPEC? Hopefully, one day they will realize that it is not in their interest to be sabotaging CPAC. Because in fact, I recently heard one of their analysts saying, the Indian, that is impossible if India has to progress, if India really wants to leapfrog and compete with China as a regional power and ultimately a global power, it has to depend on Chinese technology. There's no other option for them. If they really give up, as was being also suggested by one of our panelists, that the decoupling is no option for the world, and it is not an option for India. That be the case, I think we could make this case a very forceful case in our discussions, in our media briefings, that how a shared destiny and prosperity for the world, and with that extension, South Asia, how can it really be visualized with the help of and with the technological edge that China has it. So I think going positive on this, I think there is a need for us also to send these positive messages while neutralizing the negative media coverage. So I think there would be some people to at least understand this, and ultimately we would see the end of this regime of terror in India, and some more rational leadership might come from within BJP or outside. So I think we should prepare and touch that. I've always been saying that, you see, the goodness, the human goodness has not completely evaporated from Indian society. We just need to touch that segment of the Indian society, their public opinion, which understand the language of rational and realistic approach, who have realistic approach towards international relations, and who do not have this like animosity, or a animosity which is based on racism, which is based on ultra-nationalist feelings. Yeah.
A very pragmatic approach that you have highlighted, former Ambassador Baluch. And Raja Faisal, in light of that, we know when we talk about India and we talk about China-Pakistan economic corridor and the relationship, a framework, as in light of what Ambassador Baluch had to say, a framework for safeguarding these interests. How do you think that can be developed in these times?
Yeah, obviously, with the whatever Pakistan is doing in terms of securing Pakistan's stakes, China's stakes, and of course CPEC itself, we know, and China knows as well, that there is a spoiler called India. India is trying its level best that it spoils everything in terms of CPEC. That is why in recent times we have been seeing that their focus was how to hit CPEC, and of course Pakistan security services, security forces, and then intelligence services, they have been up to the mark in terms of doing everything possible to make it possible that CPEC is secure. And yes, there are incidents in which we can find Kulbhushan Jadhavs working in Pakistan, and then we catch them as well, and their ultimate goal is to, of course, sabotage CPEC, and we will never let it happen. And Rafae, we shouldn't be forgetting that India is having a support. India is having a support of the same obviously powers that are against China, and of course they want to keep that momentum in terms of if India is doing it, they will always keep an eye shut on that. But at the same time, let me tell you, Rafae, that Western countries, especially US believes in friendship with the benefits. They only seek friends with the benefits, and right now they are seeking that benefit from India, and that is why that benefit is being provided to them by India, and they are friends. But when it comes to, of course, US having a long-term relation, or let's call it a marriage of convenience, in which they can accept everything from that country, and that is only one, and that is considered as Israel. Israel would do anything, Israel would conduct a genocide, and nobody would say anything against it. Reason being, that is the actual wedding or marriage they have with the rest of the world. Whatever the friendships they have, I would say it again, friendship with the benefits. Otherwise there is no friendship they have. And when it comes to China, we shouldn't be forgetting that in past China has highlighted again and again that Pakistan has the same importance for China as Israel has the importance for the US. And we shouldn't be forgetting that our former Prime Minister, interim Prime Minister, he highlighted it as well. And that is how it is. That importance for both of the countries for each other, it would always remain. And both do understand that in the region there is a country called India that is trying its level best to sabotage CPEC, but that dream would turn out to be a nightmare for India, because to me nothing can hinder Pakistan's friendship with China, because there is a strong belief in it, and that belief gets reiterated again and again.
Very food for thought, and of course the categorization of the relationships a lot more interesting. For Pitafi, I'd like your concluding remarks as well.
Yeah, thank you very much once again for according me the opportunity. I think that I'm in most parts, at least two counts, I'm going to defer to the judgment of Ambassador Saab, especially when he says that the world order is in flux, right? And when he says that maybe there is a working solution possible with India. But I am going to disagree with the idea that Modi government will be gone very soon or sometime in foreseeable future. I have wasted the past 10 years in that vain hope, and unfortunately that did not come to fruition. So I have thrown in the towel, and the fact is that Indian people have their own agency. No matter what, they have made a choice. So we have to work with whatever there is. And I think that there's always a way to do it. I tell you something very interesting. I don't believe in indirectly, just chessboard zero-sum game approach to everything. There's always a way to subvert whatever negative chal there might be, right? For example, why not actually talk to India directly? If you cannot talk to India directly, we have so many partners which are common. Earlier, one mention was the US, and then there was Europe. But that is not all. Our Arab brethren are very close to both sides, right? Yeah. Then China, look at China. China itself is a very influential player in India as well. So why not actually work this bouquet and find a way to actually interact with India as well? If you can convince them, then what remains, right? Of course, they need some optics. One can work on those optics as well. Now the flux. You realized why the world order is in flux. It is not because of one Donald J. Trump. It is not because of the rise of populist politics in the world. It is because of uncertainty in certain things. First, change which is there on the horizon, and it is staring in our faces. And we are going to talk about it in a bit. That is technology. On one side, we keep on talking about AI and how it is going to actually disrupt everything. But on the other side, what Elon Musk has done, I know I'm going to conclude very quickly. Elon Musk has done by actually landing back the rockets that go to space. That might open room for space as a trade route as well. That is one aspect. The second is climate change. Third one is demographic changes that are coming. The world population is aging very fast. So because of all these things, the world order is legitimately in flux. And we just have to actually work through that. And in that situation, because everyone is so uncertain, including America, India, China, and no matter whosoever you mention, we can find an argument that Ambassador Saab was talking about, that our collective security is more important and we can work together. So I hope in coming days that kind of sanity prevails. Pakistan will love to work with our Chinese brethren and International Committee of Nations to actually build that argument.
Well, a very pragmatic approach. With that, former Ambassador G.R. Baluch, I'd like to thank you for your time and your valuable insights as we move and we wrap up the first segment and move towards the second, as talking about what Farrukh Pitafi was also mentioning earlier, the Chinese DeepSeek, an artificial intelligence software that has been developed that is very less costly as compared to the variants that were available earlier, which has caused a global AI sell-off as stockbrokers they sold and pulled out their money from Nvidia shares. With regards to that, Faisal, I'll come to you first. How do you see this development by China in AI causing this global sell-off as AI being the new industry and the way forward?
Oh yeah, Rafae, when we talk about what China has done in terms of DeepSeek, I think it has pushed through the shivers across the world in terms of whoever's been working on AI related tanks in terms of the information providing. And when it comes to, of course, China sending it in, and mind you, this isn't the first time they have done so. Previously, the previous model, that is why they are considering it to be the Sputnik factor in it, and that Sputnik factor is that they have actually improved it and further improved it and further improved it. It means that they had the plan and they were tirelessly working on it, and that is how they have brought in a product that is not only competing the rest of the products, it is nearly beating them all. And one of the evidence is that $592 billion. Rafae, this is the major chunk, and they have simply rammed through it, and that is how the Wall Street and that is how the world is looking at it, and it has actually made its mark, where everyone was seeking dollars out of it, and they were obviously giving different versions in terms of paid versions and in terms of hefty amounts they were charging. They are simply going to go and use it, and the kind of amount they've spent on it and on the research and the kind of product they have come up with, its efficiency is if not more than ChatGPT, it is equaling it. And to me, I think this is marvelous. It shows that in the race of AI, we would be seeing more wonders coming from the Chinese side. We are expecting that they will be sending these shock waves to the world again and again in coming weeks and months, and it would be very interesting to see how US that was considering itself to be leading in the AI sector, it will be seeing a tough competition.
A very interesting thing that you've said. With regards to that, I'd come towards Farrukh Pitafi with a statement from Donald Trump terming it this incident with DeepSeek as a wake-up call for Silicon Valley. How do you comment on that?
I think that it was a very timely wake-up call, because recently, President Trump actually, with SoftBank, OpenAI and Oracle has launched, they have launched a project called Project Stargate, and that is to the tune of $500 billion. And the purpose of that is to actually build AI infrastructure in America to compete with all the international competitors. Why is it the wake-up moment, and why is it timely? Because at this moment when you are about to develop those technology parks, at that time it is good to know what kind of technology to invest in, right? Let me also very quickly tell you that you keep on talking about Nvidia's crash yesterday, right? But that is not all. Total loss to Silicon Valley in past 24 hours was to the tune of $1 trillion, right?
That's major.
And that was huge. Nvidia is a great company. I think that if anybody thinks that it is lagging behind, they need to wake up. I think it is going to resume momentum. It has, by the way, because their stock market has opened up again. So the fact is that because it has this very good grasp on GPUs. There are CPUs and then there are GPUs, graphics processing units. And their GPUs are gold standard, they are brilliant. But what happened was that during first tenure of President Trump, when AI was being born, right? Remember 2016, when he won the election, that was also the year when we had AlphaGo moment. AlphaGo moment was when a Go player, which is thought to be a far more complicated game than chess, that person was defeated repeatedly by a software, which was AI, right? It was AlphaGo. And at that time, the world had this aha moment that now AI has arrived. But after that, of course, there was modernization that had to take place, and you had to build, superstructures to ensure that there is that capacity to have that kind of thinking. Then what happened was that President Donald Trump initially, to leverage the position to gain more capacity to negotiate an FTA that was being negotiated. The first phase was signed. At that time, he actually slapped some sanctions regarding chips on China. And then President Biden actually built up on that, right? And his parting shot in December was that he imposed humongous export bans on China, that Nvidia and these GPUs cannot go to China. What happened then? Instead, while the GPUs are expensive and they're very important, China actually sought to actually subvert the process. Remember that OpenAI, DeepMind of Google, or for that matter, their Gemini, and then Anthropic's Claude. These are some models which are built on billions of dollars infrastructure, and then they are trained by data of that worth also, right? What China did, what this small, a startup did in China, DeepSeek, they actually came up with two models. The total cost is 27 million of the operation, $27 million total. And their data training only took, or at least this is what they tell, $6 million, right? The other companies have thousands of employees, these have only 200. And with that kind of a team, within no time, and with lesser GPUs or perhaps other solutions like TPUs or others, whatever the solutions or FPGAs, they found ways to actually create an alternative model which is very cost effective. So what happens is that immediately pressure came on Nvidia that whatever you were selling, it did not reach China, but China did it, right? Doesn't mean that Nvidia is going to be just relegated to past. It is still the #1 AI company, #1 GPU company, and it is going to go from strength to strength. On the other side, then data training, the subtle change that is coming, Rafae. Initial models that were there, LLMs they are called, they were essentially based on training data, right? The chips were training chips, which are provided by Nvidia. But now there is an inference model which actually uses logic, which is an upgrade on the previous model. So whatever technique China used or this company used, we still don't have transparency as to what kind of units they had. But they, as was pointed out earlier, OpenAI has their 3 cutting-edge models. They are called frontier models, O1, O2, O3. Their capacity is equivalent to O2, although it is not up to O3, but it is incredible even then.
Yeah.
So at this moment, people might think that it is going to, and it is going to do 2 things. One, the cost of innovation is collapsing. This is one thing that is there. The second one is, and with that, the argument for regulation of technology is also collapsing. Because after that, what happens? They'll say, if we don't do it and we over-regulate, then China is going to take lead, right? But the final thing is, while in AI, it is going to, it is called economy of scale. It is going to actually get cheaper and cheaper for everybody. But what happens then? Because AI now has its agents which can actually go autonomously and work on projects that you assign them and come back with the results, they are going to displace more jobs, right? So unfortunately, while the world is headlong plunging into this new innovation era, and it is going to, I mean, do remarkable things. Project Stargate says it is going to have a huge, huge impact on cancer diagnosis and perhaps cure. But then on the other side, if AI is going to do your and my job, what are we going to do?
Point very well made. Of course, in this race for technological advancement and artificial intelligence, human intelligence should also be considered one of those elements that gave birth to this artificial intelligence. With that, we'll wrap up the debate for today. That wraps up both of our segments. I'd like to thank both of our analysts, Senior Analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Geopolitical Analyst Faisal. Thank you both for your time and being part of the conversation. See you all same time tomorrow. Till then, take care.